I'm Bree Candland. I'm the 2020 Sagadahoc County Teacher of the Year. And I'm a teacher because I want to prepare my students to successfully and confidently engage with the world that we share. I don't want my students to be fearful like so many of us are, adults are, and that starts with awareness. I teach in a rural school district full of farmers and fishermen, and some of my students have never left the state of Maine. I've led 8 school trips abroad, and for many of those students, it was the first time they'd ever been on an airplane. It was certainly the first time they had a passport. My childhood as a kid originally from Washington County, Maine, was pretty similar. 19 years ago, I was hired straight out of college to teach ancient world cultures and modern European history at Ararat High School in Topsham, even though I'd actually never been to Europe. 1 week into my teaching career, our lives changed forever. My colleague came into my classroom in a panic, and he told me 2 planes had hit the Twin Towers, and I was too embarrassed to tell him I didn't know what the Twin Towers were. The events of that day and the aftermath have shaped my teaching immensely. I suddenly heard my students saying terrible things about Muslims, people from the Middle East, anyone wearing a turban. What I knew I was hearing was fear and misinformation, but I honestly didn't know the answers to my students' questions. I saw a need in my school community surrounding these issues, and that was access to education, which could reduce ignorance and encourage appreciation of diversity. It is so easy to fear people and cultures we don't interact with. That is why I believe teaching religion is imperative in public schools. It helps us understand and respect others. It helps us learn how to have conversations about beliefs and traditions many people in the world hold dear. I began a Master's of Arts degree program with an emphasis on world religions at Bangor Theological Seminary in 2006. I learned so much about Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism, and that gave me a strong foundation to approach discussions in class about religion, politics, and conflict, which they tell you you're never supposed to talk about. Early on in my master's program, I mentioned to my colleagues in my department, I thought our ancient world cultures curriculum didn't meet the changing needs of students. And when asked what I thought would be more relevant, I suggested a 9th grade world religions semester-long course and a semester of civics with emphasis on American government. And my amazing colleagues were all on board immediately, and they agreed that that would be a great course of study, and it would be more relevant and it would be more helpful as students navigate and participate in the complex global world they already live in. I was thrilled when our curriculum committee and school board happily accepted the proposal from our department to change our curriculum. For a year, a colleague and I piloted and designed the course with a test group of 9th graders, and from then on, that became the required social studies course for all 9th graders at our school. This fall is the 11th year all students at Mount Ararat will take a semester-long course in religion. Our department teaches students to be more aware of other cultures and traditions, and that better prepares them to succeed in our interconnected world. Students and parents have told me over and over again how engaging the world religions curriculum especially is. I have found that students are naturally interested in people's beliefs, sacred objects and places, rites of passage, holidays, and food restrictions, because that has an enormous impact on so many people's day-to-day lives. Parents tell me that world religion is the class that comes up around the dinner table, and my students end up teaching their parents about current issues in religion over family meals. Students recognize connections to what we've been studying in television, movies, songs, and books. Those references make sense to them, and it makes them feel smart and proud, and it makes me proud, too. I saved an email from a student. She was watching an episode of Lizzie McGuire on the Disney Channel, and she said she was really excited because she understood why Lizzie McGuire's friend Gordo was so busy preparing for his bar mitzvah celebration. And she sent me an email to say, I was so glad I knew that. The knowledge my students gain and the comfort they start to have about religious traditions, including their own sometimes, is one of my proudest accomplishments as a teacher. As a result of our world religions class, my students are far more religiously literate than most adults. In 2010, a teenager was wearing leather straps wrapped around his arm and his head on a flight from New York to Kentucky. The pilot grounded the plane, and the teenager was taken in by the FBI for questioning. I have told this story to hundreds of my students who are 14 and 15 years old, and they say, he's an Orthodox Jew, he's wearing tefillin, he's praying, and they're right. But they grounded the plane, And tefillin is used by mostly male Orthodox Jews as a physical reminder of their connection to God during morning prayer. And when you know what it is, it's not scary. But to everybody on that plane who'd never seen it before, they were scary. They thought it was wires and cables that he was wrapping around his body. A spokesman for the Philadelphia police said it was unfamiliarity that caused the incident and had the flight be grounded. They'd never seen tefillin before, so they didn't know how to resolve the situation in the air. My students know more about religion than the 50 adults on that plane did. I've been asked, is it really the place of a school to teach religion to kids? Yeah, it is. I know that if we do our students a great disservice if we ignore how deeply religion affects the lives of billions of people on our world, what they eat, what they believe, what they wear, what they celebrate, in short, how they live their day-to-day lives. We know ignorance breeds fear. Almost 20 years later, and I still occasionally will hear someone say, all Muslims are terrorists. We live in a polarized time, and it is clear to see that a lot of people are very fearful of people they don't know personally. I'm confident at the end of the semester of world religions, my students understand and respect other people's beliefs more than most, and that is very important work. But I'd rather let you hear from my students about why studying religion in public schools is important. One of my students wrote on her final exam, "Religion didn't seem that important before I started world religions this semester. I've come to realize it's actually very informational and interesting, and it should be required. One reason is the stereotypes affect us every day, and many would be stopped if we were educated on the truth. Since 9/11, Muslims in general are pointed to as terrorists, but nearly 25% of all people in the world are Muslims, so that doesn't make any sense. If I never took this class, I would be guilty of being as ignorant as so many of us are." I got this incredibly kind email from a student 2 months ago at the end of the strangest school year we have ever had, and she said, "I want to thank you for a wonderful year. Your class was one of my favorites. I also want you to know how important your class is. Learning about religion and government is important. The religion part especially because people really misunderstand others sometimes. I think that people my age learning about this now will have a positive difference in our community and our world in the future. It's been a gift for a decade to not be asked, why do we have to know this? Learning about world religions is interesting and important. Our society underestimates kids, but I have found they are eager to welcome people from other cultures and to learn about those cultures and traditions. It is very human and understandable reaction to fear what we don't know, but education and experience are tools that make us better global citizens. This work feels particularly important in uncertain, fearful times, and it keeps me motivated. Thank you.